ほどね。あ、フィオナさん、おはようございます。
世界各国が水面下
What do you do?
It's my birthday gift.
Ladies first. Oh, it's a Japanese phone number.